30% of Americans still believe the dollar is backed by gold, despite the Fed not holding gold for decades. Right now, the Federal Reserve is printing billions of dollars every day to keep this failing system alive, just long enough to transition into the new system of the future, the ultimate system of control over the monetary and global financial system. A cashless society. I'm sure you've heard this phrase before. It used to be the stuff known as conspiracy theory, typically associated with a one world government and one world currency. But ladies and gentlemen, every day that so-called conspiracy theory is quickly becoming a reality. Right now, virtually every nation in the world is engaged in a new kind of arms race. The race to digital supremacy on the blockchain using cryptocurrencies, and all of the big players are on board.
This current coronavirus crisis will be used to conceal the crimes of the international banksters. Nobody wants to take responsibility for the collapse, so it will be blamed on this outbreak. They will remove cash from circulation, which we are already seeing in China.
This is a great excuse to usher in a new economy. It's a great excuse to say how much it affected trade, why they have to introduce a new system.
The New York Stock Exchange is planning to run a disaster recovery drill on the morning of March 7th. So please mark your calendars for that. It's about a week away from right now when I'm recording this. The major central banks have been working for years to develop their own digital currencies. They're called CBDCs, or central bank digital currencies. And they're all on board. They're all doing it. I've been researching this on a daily basis for a while now, and you can see it coming. You can see the partnerships taking place. You can see the rollout. Now it's starting to go mainstream, and it's just about ready to roll out. It was only a matter of when and how, and the coronavirus looks like the perfect storm to roll out this new system. Now, if the U.S. economy crashes, the global economy crashes, but it will be a controlled demolition, just like the Twin Towers on 9/11. Now, people do not like change and usually have to be persuaded to some degree to accept change. And I think that 9/11 is a perfect example of how people would have never accepted the rollout of the police state or the surveillance state, in addition to the endless wars abroad, if it was not justified by a major crisis, the terror attacks on September 11th. Financial Stability Board, which operates under the Bank for International Settlements, is currently preparing final drafts for the new financial system. It's going to be essentially the global framework for this new financial system. Now, the UN has also had plans in the works, and they've been funding their own cryptocurrency projects. Mark Carney, who is the current head of the Bank of England, will soon take on a new role at the United Nations as the Secretary General's Special Envoy to Climate and Finance, as well as the former head of the International Monetary Fund and current head of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde.
The International Monetary Fund, which is the central bank of central banks, is openly talking about CBDCs, which are central bank digital currencies. They have partnered with and have attended multiple conferences with financial technology companies like Ripple, who have established an unmatched and growing global infrastructure using their network called On-Demand Liquidity, or ODL, and its flagship cryptocurrency XRP. Ripple, a Silicon Valley-based fintech company, currently is partnered with hundreds of banks globally, including major central banks, and is expanding daily. In addition to the IMF, the Bank of International Settlements is in the process of adopting crypto, as is the European Central Bank, which may be a huge player in the rollout of CBDCs, considering the new president of the ECB is former IMF head Christine Lagarde, who is a known associate of Ripple's CEO Brad Garlinghouse. But it appears adoption of crypto by big banks in Southeast Asian countries is at the forefront of this new system that will forever change the financial landscape, and XRP will be the bridging asset between nations and their own digital currencies. And this is just the beginning. China is preparing to launch their own gold-backed CBDC. BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is an organization that was created with the intended goal to break away from the current dollar-based hegemonic system. Germany just passed a law that will take effect on January 1st, 2020, enabling their banks to store cryptos. Ukraine just passed new legislation allowing the use of virtual assets for payments. Italy and Japan's banks have also said that they will use the new system, among many, many other nations. The Federal Reserve has officially stated that they are closely monitoring CBDCs, but are not currently developing their own. But do not think for a second that the U.S. will sit idly by as China and the rest of the world transition without them.
China was on track to have the #1 economy globally if they didn't already have it. Now all of a sudden this This outbreak happens, this takes place, and China is crippled, and the U.S. is benefiting from this. We're seeing parliament leaders in Iran are getting infected with the virus. I mean, you have to look at who benefits from all this. Look at who installed Mao into power. Look at the United Nations helmets that the Chinese troops were wearing at the Wuhan military games. There is a bigger agenda, a bigger plan.
Recently, the Federal Reserve joined the U.S. Faster Payments Council as a founding sponsor. Earlier this year, Ripple's VP of Strategic Accounts also joined the Faster Payments Council. Are you beginning to see the big picture? Well, take a look at this. At this table, you have the Director of Monetary Markets for the IMF, the Chairman of the Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, the Chief Executive of the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, and Christine Lagarde, the then head of the IMF and now president of the ECB. The only person at that table who is not a major player from the central banks is the CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse. The same Ripple who has been for years setting up the global infrastructure to revolutionize the current financial system. Need I say more?
This is the implementation period that we see rolling out, and it's all connected to the United Nations, the central banks, the climate change agenda, and I believe the coronavirus.
Because they want to be able to transfer wealth into the hands of the banking institutions. So this is a great cover for that. And I think it's about economic control. I think we're going to see a revamping of the financial system. I think we're in for a very, very big year in response to this coronavirus.
I mean, everything is falling into place for this new financial system, which will be the ultimate system of control.
Ladies and gentlemen, the current global payment system is based on pre-internet 40-year-old technology. The financial elite, aka the world's central bankers, are currently working to revise this system and to consolidate it, to control it. Will the dollar be replaced overnight? It's doubtful, but how long can this Ponzi scheme last? It would be naive to think that the banking elite and the social engineers did not see this coming and would not have a plan to transition from their current system of global control into a new one. Major moves are being made every day to usher in this new system. We are beginning to see the mainstream rollout. This means they are close to implementation. I believe, based on months of research, that Ripple and XRP will play a major role in the future of the global financial system. And it is my opinion that they have been chosen by the financial establishment to facilitate this coming transition.
They want to centralize power. They want to control the population and ultimately reduce it. It's been documented over and over. I know that sounds extreme, but it's real. And in my opinion, when you see domestic air travel in the U.S. restricted, that will be basically a major domino to fall, which would signal the crash is only days or weeks away.
It's a great cover to bring about a financial crash. It's a great cover to introduce a cashless society. Get people scared of handling cash because it may contain the deadly coronavirus.
See is pointing towards this economic collapse. I think that it's coming. I think that they've been holding it off until the technology was ready, and now it's ready, and this is the crisis that's going to usher it in.
Because this new system, this deliberate move to eliminate cash and digitalize the world's currencies and its assets, will likely come with a high price. Privacy will be laid to waste, and cold hard cash will eventually become a thing of the past. Oh, you better believe the system will get their cut. This new system will be praised as the savior, but beware of the possible Trojan horse of the growing technocracy. Everything you do, everywhere you go, and everything you buy or sell can and most probably will be tracked and monitored on the blockchain. The writing is on the wall. The alarm has sounded. This current fiat system is on its last leg. All by design. The only question is, will the transition take place before the crash, preventing the largest global economic crisis in history with a global bailout? Or will this new system be born out of its ashes?